What do you think what do you think your draft class of quarterbacks is going to be known for at the end of the day?
Pretty badass class, right?
Yeah.
6 QBs going within first round and first 12. Yeah, so it's a pretty good draft class. Obviously, guys are playing well. Just about all the guys. So I think it's going to turn out like a good class. Obviously, be competing versus these guys for a long time, and excited about it.
It seems like they're different. Like every guy's pretty different.
Yeah.
From each other.
Yeah.
Did that strike you even in the moment that not only are these guys good, but they're kind of different flavors of quarterback?
Yeah, it's pretty unique to get 6 different quarterbacks in one draft class that early, and then obviously to have guys that are so different, but also very similar in a lot of ways. And I think it's awesome for those guys to be able to go out there and compete the way they've been competing from last year to this year, and excited to see where they go next.
How does Dan Quinn's defense challenge you?
Yeah, obviously playing versus them last year, and Dan Quinn and Joe, they do a good job over there. Their guys play, sound football. They obviously have a vet right in the middle of, they got a bunch of vets, but they got a vet right in the middle of the defense with Bobby Wag. So, just being able to go out there and do our job, execute our plays, execute our techniques. Is the challenge for us because that's what those guys are going to do. And they're going to play hard-nosed football. They're going to come out and they're trying to, try and make a bang on plays and, come downhill and hit on run plays. And, when the ball's in there, they're going to try and go and attack it. So it's our job to be able to, for me to be able to throw good passes, give our receivers the best chance. And it's our guys' job to be able to, have the right technique and, go grab the ball or run and protect the football and lower pad level and all the different things that, it takes to win games.
It's only been 4 games, but your sack rate is way down from where it was last year. What's your interpretation of why that progress has been as defined as it has been?
Yeah, it starts with those guys up front. Those guys up front have been awesome since I've been here, or since this year. And so I think being able to get in rhythm with those guys, not having many guys down in a sense, being able to get multiple reps, and for me to be able, I think I've said it multiple times, from last year to now, is being able to figure out maybe where their weakness is, because every player has some weaknesses or anything like that. So being able to figure out where their weakness is, and maybe play off of that in the pocket and be able to feel that and kind of know where I need to set up or roll out or get out the pocket at certain times and things like that. So it's being able to have those guys, but have those guys back when things don't go right. But these guys are those guys are beasts up front. So it's been fun being with them and working with them and having these past 4 games with them.
The only thing about the game in DC last year was staying, knowing that you guys had to orchestrate and come back.
Does it still sting? Obviously, you don't want to lose, especially in that fashion of a Hail Mary. So does it bother me? I'm not going to speak for everybody else. Does it bother me? Yeah, in the sense of, I want to go out there and I want to win every single game that I got. And I know that's not going to happen. So, being able to, orchestrate, this game, orchestrate this week, have the guys focus on what we need to focus on, I think is where I'm at, and not necessarily going down the rabbit hole of the revenge title or anything like that. I think it's being able to focus on us. This team's different than last year. The coaching obviously is different. A bunch of things are different. So being able to focus on us and be able to lead these guys the way that they need to be led, and be able to go out there and focus on what we need to focus on to be able to go win the game at the end of the day.
Because of how that game ended last year and how the subsequent ones went after that, what did you learn about, I guess, that 24-hour rule? Because I know you mentioned it at the time with Arizona, like just being able to flush something that was so bad and being able to move on. As a leader, what did you learn about that?
Yeah, I got to do a better job in those situations. I think, we had those first 2 games this year, and I think I did a better job of, being able to come into the facility and be able to move on. And, we got our tails whooped the second game. We had a comeback game that we allowed the team to come back on us. So, those are tough games, especially to start the season and, versus divisional opponents. So being able to come in here and be the same guy, but also understand, my energy, my attitude, my, how I come in here each and every day, whether it's a win or a loss, affects everybody, affects the building. And so, I think it starts with myself and being able to and look at myself in the mirror in those ways when things aren't going right, and then being able to come in here when things are going right and be the exact same guy.
Did the homecoming aspect to that game add to the sting for you?
Yeah, that was probably a little bit of it. Just because when you go back home, I think any player, any coach, any whatever case, any competitor, when you go back home and you're going to be in front of whether your people are actually there or they're going to be watching because it's home, and so being able to come out with a win always feels a little bit better when you can do it at home. And not being able to go back home as much as you may like or anything like that because of what the job requires. And so when you do get to go back home and play in front of a crowd and play in front of a crowd that many fans were whether it's high school or little leagues or anything like that have watched me growing up. You want to be able to win those games.
Caleb, what about your trajectory this season, where Washington is going to be one of the better defenses and one of the better teams you have played? So getting those 4 games and then kind of getting a chance to reset. Now you come out with a pretty good test.
Yep.
How do you feel about your readiness for that, as opposed to maybe a month ago?
Yeah, I think it's a week to week basis kind of thing. It's a week to week league. There's teams that may have lost to a team that another team beat the week before and things like that you feel or thought that they shouldn't be. So it's a week to week thing. And so my comfort starts with my preparation throughout the week. And so being able to prepare the way, the same way that I've been preparing and finding better ways to, be more efficient and things like that with my preparation and be able to, gain more knowledge and, be able to become more comfortable, each and every week and find ways to become more and more comfortable each and every week with what's put in front of me. I think is the most important thing. And I think that builds the confidence for, each week. And then obviously when you get out there on Sundays and this week on Monday, I think that's where the confidence and the belief comes from. Like I said, each week is its own. So
Given the ugly nature of the win in Vegas, you guys found a way in the end. What do you think the psychological value for the team is of that whole experience?
Yeah, I think being able to have those type of wins is important. I think overall for us as a team, a culture, and things like that, even when we're down, even when we're behind, even when, one side of the ball may not be doing, as good as we feel we should, I think being able to find ways to get things going, having each other's back, all these different things that, when you come up in these big games like, this week that we have, a team that went to NFC last year and, they've played big games. They're a great team, great coaching staff and all of that. All that comes together, and I think it helps us in the end. One for confidence, one for belief in each other, coaches, and all of that. And then obviously we have to do it each and every week to be able to, become that consistent team that we want to be and winning these games.
You talked about your individual confidence in those game on the line moments. How do you find it yourself during games that maybe not going the way? Washington last year, a perfect example where you didn't play well, and then the ball's in your hands in the fourth quarter, and you figure out how to click it in. How does that happen for you?
I think it gets to a point where it's just a switch in my mind and our minds of, it's our time. It's time to go win the game. And there's nothing else that matters. Nothing is more important than, that play, that drive, in that moment. And, you take a deep breath. And you give yourself some positive affirmation, and things like that. And you go out there and you be as calm as you can be for your guys in my position. And I think that helps the guys in those moments. You speak to those guys, you look at those guys in the huddle, and you give them the information we need to be able to go out there and be confident and make the plays that we need to be able to go down and, win the game.
Hey, why did you make use of the bye? Was it mental recharge, a chance to study some things, and did it differ this year than from your rookie?
Yeah, I think it was an overall, be able to get, more treatment, a week of treatment without really having too much, ground and pound on the grass and things like that. It's a week of mental rest. And then obviously, being able to, find ways to get away in a way, just because it's going to be a long stretch of games, 13 plus games. And so being able to understand that, being able to, like last year, I wasn't as good with that, being able to get away for a couple of days and understand that, this is a long season. And so I think I did a good job of that this year, but getting back into it, a day or two before we actually get back in here, getting back in the facility, staying for a few hours, just getting back into that mode of being able to be here for hours and not, wishing, because, you take that time off and, it feels good, obviously. but not taking advantage of it is the most important thing.
What did your self-scout reveal to like what you looked at for the first 4 games? Where do you need to get better? What do you need to improve on?
Yeah, I think there's not necessarily one area that I can say that I'm mastered at. There's not one area that I can say that I'm necessarily bad at or anything like that. I think it's just being able to look at it and figure out, and it goes back to always the basics for us as a group and offense and defense and all of that, but also myself, it goes back to the basics of being able to look at what I need to look at. It always starts ground up. So looking at my base and looking at my my footwork and the confidence of being able to get the calls out and long calls, short calls, whatever, being able to get the guys up to the line and make the checks and things like that. So it always starts with those base things, and then from there you grow and you figure out you need to be set here to get back to here and all of those different things. So it always starts with the basics, and then you can take steps from there.
Caleb, a lot of those guys in your draft class are playing for offensive coordinators or head coaches who were known for their development of quarterbacks. You've got one in Ben now.
Yep.
In terms of just being in a good landing spot, does that strike you as a reason why this class might be, in your words, what was it, damn good or damn good or whatever? Like
Yes. I mean, situation always helps, and then you got to have. I mean, those guys are hard workers. All those guys, you wouldn't be in this position because talent does run out at some point. So you got to work hard and figure out ways to get better and not be okay with just being where you were at coming out of college. And I think those guys have done a good job. I think they're all going to keep growing. Myself included. But having the right situation, I think always does help. If you look at all the older guys now, you can call them. I think some of these guys that have rebirthed or come back around that everybody loves to talk about. I think they're just the same players. They've just gotten into some really good situations where they've connected with the coaches, connected with the players, and the area around. And I think they found their home, and certain guys like OU guy Baker, he's out there balling, playing hell of football right now. So I think it's right situation always helps, and it does help build confidence in yourself.
Darnold too, the SC.
Yeah, Darnold, SC, all these different guys. So it's always good, but it does help. But yeah, that's it. Awesome. The Bears.
Thank you, Caleb.